Hey everybody, episode 44 of It's Just Bodybuilding coming at you with, of course, Dusty Hanshaw and myself, Big Ron Partlow. And on today's episode, we got Coach's Corner, question and answer, all that stuff on It's Just Bodybuilding. You know, I like not going back and doing it again, even if you know you could do better, because then it's just like, it's real, you know?
Exactly, like an ex. Wow.
Oh, come on, we all have bad habits.
We got to try it one more time. I got to make sure. I had to make sure. It's an expensive line I've used many times. All right, so we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, we got a lot of great questions.
Because you got to remember, you can't see these ones.
Yeah, I know. I've only got the ones on your post.
Yeah, so I think we're going to go back to that. Same as last week. You handle the post.
Yeah.
I'll handle these.
Yeah, we should. We'll power through them if we'll see. You know, I know sometimes we go on and on. We get 3 questions done in an hour.
Yeah. Today we're shooting for 4.
Shooting for 4. How's your week been, man?
Things are good. Things are very good here. The gyms are normal. Life is normal. Our local government has decided that irregardless of the fact that numbers are going up, which we won't even get into the obvious reason that's happening, he said, fuck it. We're doing it anyways. We're leaving things.
Okay.
Which I love. So yeah, things are good. I don't know if you saw, but one thing that's sad is I don't think people realize that the backlash of all this shit is just starting to hit. So 24 Hour Fitness dropped 100 clubs today.
Yeah.
Without bankruptcy.
100. Yep. 100. So here is exactly what I said. Not like I was some kind of swami or something, because it was obvious. So I don't think it was that smart to observe it, because it was just obvious to me. But when we started coming out of this COVID thing, I started saying that the big clubs were like that. You know, that model is not going to work, at least for a while at all.
Yeah. Right.
You know, like, because with booking, like, they're all booking, all the big clubs are booking time slots, right?
Right.
And they don't even have enough time slots for the amount of members they have, because they have those crazy huge member bases where they have like 5,000 a club. Yep. So they simply can't book people to train.
Right.
Whereas a gym like ours, like, fuck, you know, can we service 1,000 people?
Right.
I mean, yeah, we can, you know. Yeah. The gym's like at capacity all day long.
Right.
You know, and there's a couple hours here and there where there's a bit of a lineup, and then there's times a day where there's no lineup for hours, you know what I mean? So, but it's working, and we're going to get through it, and then we're going to be okay.
Yeah. But
this period of time when we do have to have a capacity, and this period of time where we do have to work together to kind of share the gym more, you know, keep your workout shorter and all that sort of stuff, you know, be mindful. That's going to pass. And you know, a certain type of boutique gym or privately owned one-off gym is going to be able to survive it. But the chains that are going to have, you know, literally 3,000 unhappy members at each location.
Right.
That's a problem.
Well, plus you're leaving out the fact that I think most people don't realize that gyms actually make their money on the 70% of people that pay their memberships and never come.
And don't go. Which
the problem is, when everything closed, all of those people's memberships went down, and they were like, well, I'm not going to re-up the membership I don't use. So thousands of people per club did not re-sign up. They just let it go.
Also, the cancellations were off the map for those types of clubs, because when finances get tough, people actually go through their visa and start canceling the shit they don't need.
Right.
So the cancellations all started. They started getting fucking hammered in like 2 months ago with cancellations.
Yeah. Well, I know they say with a gym, and I know plenty of guys that own gyms, people don't want to cancel their memberships because that's admitting they're failing.
Yeah.
But when the gyms are closed and you can't go
exactly.
anyway, you can subconsciously tell yourself you're canceling it for now.
Yeah. Well, it makes financial sense at that point, right?
So
You're getting ripped off. You know,
you
like
get rid of
the
that.
thought, so.
Yeah. And then you just are smart enough to not go re-sign the stupidity again. So you call it a day. I mean, it's just one of those things.
It really culls the herd, so to speak, which is a problem for those types of clubs with the massive overhead, and they employ there's like 20 employees at each club, and
which always baffles me anyway.
And
they walk into a gym and you're like, how's this place fucking dirty? You got 12 people at the front.
Yeah, you get 12 people at the front, and then they still spend so Ed Connors. We've got myself and one of my partners have this email with Ed Connors going right now about gyms.
Can you get him on the show?
Very, very fortunate to have some of Ed's insight into the gym business at this point in time. And to be quite honest, it sort of looks like a perfect time to be the type of gym we are.
Right.
Right.
That was your plan.
Yeah, planned all along. We just planned for a global pandemic to sort of make us functional. But no, we're very fortunate right now, but we did make a lot of good decisions looking at what Ed. So Ed gave us all the advice that he said he wishes he could have given us when we opened. And the good thing was we did
done a lot of it.
Shit, it was like kind of a relief to read it.
Right.
One of the big things was branding. You got to brand the shit out of your gym. You got to make sure there's logos everywhere. And you got to it's because he talked about how back when he bought Gold's Venice, they branded the shit out of the inside of it. And it was the magazine era. So it just happened to help them so much. And then now because he hasn't seen our gym, right? So he didn't know we already had hashtags up everywhere and, the logo on the turf and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it was cool. But some of the stuff that he said, because he also has the big club perspective too, right? Mm-hmm. So he was telling us, most of the big clubs I used to own, we'd spend like $5-6 grand a month on cleaners. Like, holy shit, that's a lot. And he's got 20 staff. That's like, fuck. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. Your gyms are doing good though, eh? Like all the ones you're at are gonna be around.
I think everything's good. EOS is my big box that I go to. And it's hard to say what's happening, you know what I mean? But it appears to be running perfectly fine. And the only thing, like I discussed last time, that I enjoy is that gym. And this is funny. I think it was last episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, I said I really liked how the gym was already cleaner. I'm already watching it dip.
Right.
And I'm like, you still have the 12 employees up front.
Right. They're overstaffed, but the standard is dropping.
Yeah, which it was through the roof, right?
The whole point of overstaffing
a month ago, literally, because it's only been maybe a month here that the gyms have been open. Yeah. It's already dipping, and it's so crazy to me because I literally told Will the other day, we trained at the one by my house. I said, you notice I didn't see the steamer come out yet today? And we were seeing it multiple times per workout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he laughed. But then we did go, I think some of that's just the individual manager, because we went to the one in Gilbert yesterday to train, and I saw my steamer, and it made me happy.
Oh, okay. I
kind of want to use it.
Right.
I should get to just carry it around myself.
Your own personal one.
I might buy one. They're only like 10 grand. I'm just kidding.
So what about capacity? Is there so how does it work at the gyms that you hit at the EOS and the independents? Like, do you have to use you have to book anything, or is there a certain time that you just know it's never full?
Yeah, I go in when people are at work. So
you're like 10 in the morning, aren't you?
Yeah, I go at 11.
11. Okay.
Yeah. So I try to get in there. So I get the lunch crowd a little bit. But right now that is so dimmed in compared to what it used to be. We're nowhere near any sort of capacity issues. I don't know what they're doing in the afternoon. But yeah, I mean, we go in, just walk in the door, scan in, and go to work, same as always. The only thing that all the gyms have here is the treadmills and step mills and things that are right next to each other. They're blocking every other one. Just fine. I think it's decoration more than anything, but I don't really like fucking people walking next to me anyways. I hope they move that treadmill permanently.
Do you know what their capacities are at all? Like, have they said, oh yeah, we're allowed 60 people or anything like that?
No, but EOS is so fucking big. I mean, it would probably be 250 people. Right. I mean, it's huge, you know. And the other gyms, I don't think that they're not forcing capacity here.
Right.
So I don't think it matters. Like I did go into Indy the other day and it was busy. But I think the self-policing, there's signs everywhere with explanation. There's cleaning stuff everywhere in all the gyms and people are doing it.
Yeah.
So I think we have enough healthy fear that the members are doing what they need to do.
Right. I gotcha.
You know,
that's good. If everyone can just keep it functional, you know, I think I don't know, you know, things here since they opened up have actually dropped off even more. It's almost like opening up pushed it down. It's just like drove it right down.
Here, all that changed, truthfully, that people just can't seem to understand is we're testing more.
Right.
So you're getting plenty of people with no symptoms that are testing positive. And everyone's freaked. I mean, when it first came out, everyone's like, "Oh my God, the numbers are shooting up." I'm like, "You guys now have a place to test on every corner."
Yeah. Everyone's yeah.
Like exactly. If we were to test for the flu and people just randomly walked in there because they were told to, you would see the flu numbers are higher than they are too. And I'm not comparing the two things. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
If we tested for that, like I don't go in and get tested for shit I don't do. Like I've never walked in and been like, "Am I a woman?"
But that goes back. There's another whole. There's another hour. So
minimum.
But yeah, that's why the numbers have never been. The only thing that I really cared about was how many people are in hospital.
Yep.
And how many are in ICU, and that number has just been like dropping. Because the whole point's to keep the at-risk people from getting it.
What I don't like though is and I have a personal like experience with here is an acquaintance of mine's husband was sick, and I mean immediately was like flu, COVID. He has one of those two things for sure.
Do you have a fever?
Yeah. Yep. So what's she doing? She's going to work. Well, I was talking to someone at work the other day. "Oh, you're at work? Why are you at work?" Well, I said, "Has he been tested yet?" "No, but I mean, I'm sure." I'm like, "No, you should not be at work today. He has COVID." And I'm like, "You've been going to work and sleeping with this man every day. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people?" Right. That's the shit that pisses me off. Because it's like, you're just not thinking. You're in denial. It's like the bodybuilder who doesn't want to do his blood work because he knows it's shit.
Yeah.
I just don't.
She's got to stay home for 2 weeks now, and probably half the people she works with have to go get tested.
Yeah, and now she needs to reach out and go, "Hi, I'm a fucking moron, and you guys didn't know this, but at home this was going on." Like that kind of shit. Just because that's someone I know. Think about how many people that is across the country that are just in denial. What am I supposed to do? Not work? Yeah.
Actually, right now is the best time to ever call in sick. It's like the government has basically told everyone that calling in sick is like
you're doing the world a favor.
Like you're supposed to. Like they're begging you to call in sick.
Yeah.
You know,
it's crazy to me.
It's yeah.
I overfroze my Red Bull, and it's like really requiring a lot of work. If anyone's wondering why, I'm just
so. Is it at that stage where it's half frozen, half liquid, and you're trying to break the ice up as you drink it?
Yeah, and I wanted it to be like a third frozen.
Ah, okay.
But see, this is the smaller one. It's only 8.4 ounces, and I'm used to my 12ers. I misjudged the freeze time.
Now, if you over freeze, will you blow the can?
Oh yeah, you can blow them up, but I mean, I'm nowhere near that. But I'm disappointed in myself at the moment. I think what I'm going to do is actually get a warm one and pour into it.
I have a funny story, just for no fucking reason.
We have time. I mean, fuck, I brought this up randomly, so go ahead.
So I just for some reason I thought I'd tell this story because it's kind of weird. So this was back in like, oh shit, I'm gonna go way back. So we're like 1994.
Holy shit.
And I'm working at the bar and I'm full on bodybuilding, you know. And it's wintertime and it's really fucking cold, like minus 30 Celsius, which is, you know, your people would die.
It's like 70.
No, it's like if you're stuck outside, you're going to die. You know, that's how cold it is. Fucking brutal. Anyways, people still go to the bar. Yes, we still had a busy Saturday night. People standing outside, fucking. Yeah,
Sex
so
and alcohol, baby.
yeah, you got to get laid no matter how cold it is, right? So I'm working. I was a bouncer back then, and I went out after, as soon as we get everyone out, and it's like 3:00, everyone goes out and starts their car, right, and hopefully your car starts. I had I had a Ford Ranger with a Mustang 302 in it, but it was a.
Guys watching this was before auto start when you could do it inside. Go ahead.
Yes. So I went out and fired up my truck, and you got to let it run for like 20 minutes to warm up, because it's fucking so cold. You got to, it just takes a while. And I open up my door, and I don't know what I'm looking at. There's like a street light, but it's a parking lot, but there's like a street light, so it's kind of lit, but it's like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Right.
And all my windows were black. Like, I couldn't see into my truck when I walked up to it. I was like, what the fuck? And then I opened, and my windows were all coated, and everything was like coated with ice.
So much thick of ice that it was black.
And I like didn't know what, and it was really weird, because it took me like a fucking second, right?
Right.
Like, what the fuck is inside my truck? I thought did someone play a trick on me?
Yeah, fuck you.
Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck is this? And it was like a brown ice, I realized. And I started picking chunks of it off my velvet seats. And it was like a brown ice, and it was melting in my fingers as I squeezed it, even though it was -30, because when you squeeze it, it still like melts in your fingers.
Yeah.
I'm standing there in the freezing fucking cold, and I'm like squeezing this stuff, and I'm like, holy what the, and I realized I had 2 cans of Diet Coke sitting in the console that I bought to bring to work. And I know you can drink Fountain Pop all night, but I like to have a couple of cans of Diet Coke, and I just thought I'd take them in, right? And I just left them in my truck, and they were sitting in the middle console, and the tops popped or whatever, and they were spinning around my truck.
They coated the inside,
ejecting whatever liquid was left inside. Maybe half the can was ice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because both cans were on the floor, and they were split open.
Right.
It was the most bizarre fucking thing. Yeah, that was interesting. So I just scraped my windows, ran it all melted. It was fucking.
The whole time you told the story before you got to the point, I'm like, why is the ice inside the windows?
Yeah, fucking hilarious, man.
Why is the brown ice inside the windows?
I don't know. It was really weird. Anyways, you just reminded me of that. That was just this fucked up thing that happened.
That poor truck. I would have lost my mind if that was my car.
I need a scientist to explain how that all works.
Yeah, how did it get everywhere? Why did it not just like one explosion?
Well, and then the thing that puzzled me was, if it gets frozen enough to pop, isn't it too frozen to shoot? But I guess a certain amount would still be liquid. I don't know.
Yeah.
The question's Dusty.
Well, you got to remember you're dealing with the CO2 as well.
Yeah. Oh.
Dr. Dusty says, I don't fucking know, but that's awesome.
Next up on Instagram, Neil deGrasse Tyson stops by.
Someone please tell us down in the comments what the fuck happened.
Okay. You want to hit a question?
Yes, you got one. Go.
So basically, that was just a story about bodybuilders and Diet Coke.
Which is why you were staying lean.
Really? There you go.
No matter what you ate with it.
So what are we starting with here?
Dude,
so
I'm not even looking at your
one
questions.
that I get constantly from people. Do you think drinking egg whites really affects the absorption and makes a difference in the diet, or affects the physique? Because, some people say you can't drink egg whites because the protein get absorbed.
Well, pasteurized egg whites are different.
So if you're drinking the ones out of the carton, they should digest fine. I still do know people who say they can't drink them. It still gives them like bad gas and stuff.
Issues, yeah.
But I have never had a problem with them. I remember I had a client once. He's like, I tried mixing egg whites and I'd put an egg in, but man, it gives me terrible gas.
Girl, well, don't put the egg in.
I was like, don't put the egg in. The egg whites are fine. You know what I mean? And he did that, and he was like, oh shit. He just didn't realize that pasteurized is the key. Mm-hmm. So that should be fine. But if you're drinking raw egg whites, then you're still going to have a problem, I guess.
Or a few problems down the line.
Or a few. Yeah, okay. So we agree on that one.
Yes. Oh, here we go. I don't know if you're going to want to answer this, but I will. What is your total weekly dosage per week on blast?
Oh, well, I mean,
let's go with our highest. Let's go with our highest ever. I'm going to do that because everyone thinks these numbers are higher than they are.
Okay. So is this off season?
We said on blast. So I'm going pre-contest because I don't take shit in the off season.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. So pre-contest.
All right. So here, I'll give you two options. Currently, this is my wild blast off season that I started today. Y'all are welcome for knowing that. 600 test. Okay. And I'm taking 400 EQ.
What type of test?
SIP.
600 SIP, 400 EQ.
Yep. That's what I'm doing right now.
Sounds good.
So yeah, that would be, and that's, I don't, I go up from that. I don't want to say like, oh, that's what I run all the time, but I've been on 200 for so long that that's going to be a ton.
Okay. So blast, I would say that when I was, this is back when I was trying to get big and huge and all that. 1,000 tests a week was what I routinely would take when I was on. So I'd do 1,000 tests, and then I would always add like 300 of something.
Right.
So I'd add 300 EQ or 300. I fooled around with NPP for a while, but I decided I didn't really like nandrolones. Yeah, it's great for some guys. And then, I tried Primo. I tried, sometimes I'd do 300 of something and then throw a bit of an oral in. Like I'd use 25 milligrams of D-ball or something like that.
Right.
But that would be like off-season blast.
Yeah. So now pre-contest, this is where I get a little wild. Gram of test. And I have one above that. I noticed I got nothing different from it, and I'm cheap.
Yeah.
So I went as high as 1,400, literally saw zero change. Strength didn't change. I was just spending more money. So dumped that. So at my highest point would be a gram of test, 300 Mastron, 300 Tren A, 40 VAR a day, which then at the end would swap into 50 Winnie tabs a day.
Oh, okay.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I would often, I didn't use a lot of Mastron.
It's like my toss in that I randomly throw in, and I'm like,
I don't know
if I do anything with it.
I would usually keep EQ in because I always loved EQ so much.
Right.
I just thought it was like awesome. So I would do test and EQ pre-contest as well and just add some Tren and Winnie. Real basic shit. Did you see Ronnie on Rogan?
I saw some of it, but it was too painful.
So Ronnie's not like the most talkative guy, right? So he's not like spinning tales and entertaining Rogan with stories. He's just kind of answering. He's just kind of answering questions. Right.
I really wish you would have won the Olympia, Ron, so you could go on there. Because then we get some fucking stories. But anyways, go ahead.
But I really liked that I really liked how happy Rogan seemed to have Ronnie on. Mm-hmm. I like that Rogan respects bodybuilding. At least it's it's just a refreshing change. From a lot of the people that sort of have influence. Bodybuilding would sort of get whatever.
Yeah, why even talk about it? Yeah.
Yeah, like they'd only have a bodybuilder on if he comes on in his posing trunks.
Don't you find that weird though? Because, and I know you experience this, I'm blown away with this is going to seem a weird word, the caliber of people that know bodybuilding. Attorneys, doctors, different sports, football players, professional. You'll meet people that and you're like, holy shit. And they're like, what's up, Ron? And you're like, the fuck?
Yeah. And just other things too, like social media has united famous people in general. Like if you're a blue check and someone else is a blue check, you feel a little more open to like buddy with them. So like, you look on Phil Heath's stuff, like Phil Heath's a blue check, right? You look on his stuff and like the people that comment on his stuff
Right.
Like it'd be a bunch of other blue checks, and it's like, you know, I'm not saying the names; these aren't real names, but it'll be like Tom Hanks, great shot, bro. You know, like,
Right. Yeah. Well,
and
Tom
you're like,
obviously trains often with
yeah,
him.
you know, obviously big Phil Heath fan, but I'm just saying it is, you know, you get a lot more of that now. So yeah, people do know who these guys are. You know, the Netflix documentary, I mean, that sort of stuff just, you know, catapults these names. But it was good to see Ronnie on Rogan. You know, the funny thing is, you know, like my favorite part was when Rogan goes, "When did you get really serious about bodybuilding?" And Ronnie goes, "I guess when I won my first Olympia."
I didn't see that.
And Joe goes, "What?" Like he looks like stunned. He
genuinely
goes,
surprised.
"You got serious when you won your first Olympia? Do you know how many bodybuilders want to jump out a window right now?"
Think about that. I got serious right around the time I was the best in the world.
Well, yeah, and then his way of kind of explaining it, and I'm paraphrasing, because Ronnie doesn't really like explain things. He just kind of answers questions, right?
Yeah.
But his way of explaining it was like, well, yeah, I mean, like, you know, I had no intentions of quitting my job ever.
Yeah.
I won my first Olympia, and I was like, oh, fuck, you know, I might have to pick.
Right.
Like that never occurred to me before. And that sort of to him represented getting serious, you know?
Right.
And then he kept working for 3 more years.
But he was serious in the back of his head.
And then finally,
I'm glad that you explained that though, because what it really means then, and tell me if this what you
said it was always just a hobby in his mind. And he was serious at it, but it was just a hobby. It wasn't what he was.
Which is cool, because I've always, up until now, because I'm too busy with real life, I always had hobbies too. Like when I played hockey, I was obsessed with bowling. And I would bowl all the time. Like I skipped school and go bowling for like 3 hours a day because I liked it. But I mean, it's like I wanted to be really, really good at it, but like I never like entered a league or anything. But I bowled a 287.
Okay, I see. Here's like I did not know this about you.
Yeah, but I see that with Ronnie. Like it's obsessive behavior when you get into something. But it's like if someone's like, "Oh, you can't bowl anymore," I'd be like, "Okay."
Right.
Like, yeah, okay, fine. The only difference was he was a professional, which is obscene. But I mean, God, it does make sense because at some point he's like, oh, I guess I should give up this 50, 60 hour a week career and really focus like the rest of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And you know, it just makes you realize, well, it just made me realize, like, sometimes I have moments, Dusty, where I like laugh at the fact that I wanted to be a pro bodybuilder when there's guys out there that are that good.
Right.
You're like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't know how big the divide was when I started, or I would have never, ever bothered.
You wouldn't have had the balls to think you could do it.
Yeah, but that's how just so many things are, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like someone said, hey, if you would have known how much work the gym was going to be, would you still have opened it? And like, there's a lot of like hesitation in like accurately answering that question.
Yeah, but I totally get it.
But now that it's done, it's awesome and worth it, right? But it's just, you know, when you see that mountain in front of you, like, okay, so you're going to be this talented. Then there's going to be a bunch of guys out there that are like this talented. And you just have to hope you don't run into them all the time. You know?
Look, and you know this is true, and in this environment, I'm going to get in trouble for this. But it was always our joke with Aceto, which was you would see, and I'm like, you know, am I going to win, or is this guy going to win? He'd be like, yeah, as long as a bubbly black dude doesn't show up.
Right.
As long as some freak doesn't show up that no one's ever heard of, that's been training for 15 minutes.
Well, Troy Alves, I remember having a meal with Troy and Chris at the Olympia, and Chris told Troy to eat more carbs. Like Troy was in the show.
Yeah.
And so like Troy's eating more carbs, and Chris even said to him, he's like, the more carbs you eat, the more black you'll look. And Troy was like, okay, I got it. And then Troy was like trying to get bubbly. And he was like eating potatoes or rice or whatever he had. I can't remember what it was, but they were just so funny to be around those two, because Troy and Chris had such a a great sense of humor, and to just be able to sit at that table at that show and tap into that was a privilege.
Well, you know what's funny is earlier in Troy's career, because obviously he lives here, he's getting ready for his show, and he's posing in the bathroom, you know, and I'll never forget this. He's hitting a couple shots, and he just saw him just barely, and everything looked so good. And I'll never forget, he hits the class most muscular, and he goes, without thinking, he goes, "I can't wait to see what I look like after a full week of dieting."
Right.
I was like, and he meant it, and I was just laughing, thinking, after a full 7 days,
yeah.
You know, because he knows in 3 or 4 more days I will be better than I am right now. And then to think he was not the peak of the genetic pool.
No, because he didn't have like the size gene.
Yeah.
He had like the shape and structure and stuff. He had a lot of great, you know, it's like an equalizer.
Yep.
He had
I used to love watching his
right?
his quarter turns, especially the side shots when he would turn and the waist would just disappear.
Yeah. It's funny how I appreciate, for those of you that don't know Troy Alves, you got to look at his old shots. But I appreciate his physique more now in retrospect, you know, because, you know, back in the day, I remember I was like, oh, Troy looks awesome, but like, fuck, there's Marcus Rule.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now you look back at Troy's pics and you're like, wow, like that's.
Yeah, because he's 211 pounds. He looks like he's 240.
And winning pro shows.
And his arms were enormous. You know what I mean?
He could have done the 212 technically at like 5'9"?
Oh God, yeah. It is crazy to look back at that stuff though. And I'm the reverse of most people. I actually appreciate the look I don't have more than the look I do have. Like, you know, most people, they lean towards what they are. Like, oh, I love the freaks because that's all I can be. I don't. I mean, I like the freaks, but if I could choose, I would absolutely be like, make me pretty and smaller.
Right. Maybe it's, I guess with me, maybe it's a little bit of both. As I was coming up, I looked towards what I wanted to be, which was the freaks.
Yeah.
And now that I'm more retrospective, I appreciate the other things now more.
Well, I think because when you were coming up, that it's what you could be.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
so
the
that
whole
makes
point.
sense.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
why
how
you're doing
I looked. I look at a Marcus Rule when I was coming up, and let's be honest, if you go look at Marcus Rule now and look, his shape was terrible.
Yeah, it was just a science. It was the science experiment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember though, because he had lines in his videos that I loved, where he was like, because somebody said, "Is that healthy for you?" And he says, "This is not my concern. My concern is to be the biggest man on the planet."
I remember one of my favorite Marcus Rule clips was in, I think it's Made in Germany. Or Triple X, I can't remember, one of the two videos, but he's flying over to the Olympia.
Right.
So he's on the airplane, right? And they're filming, and he's putting whey protein in a shaker.
Right.
And I think he puts like 5 scoops in. I think he puts 5 scoops in. He might put 4 scoops, but it's like 100 grams of protein.
Right.
And he dumps it in, and he puts a lid on it, and he goes, "If you don't use 4 scoops, it doesn't work."
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
I like how it's just some kids like, I gotta eat 4 scoops.
If you don't use 4 scoops, it doesn't work.
50 doesn't work. It only starts to work once you get to 100.
Yeah, and they smoke.
Bruce that owns what used to be Mitsuru Okabe's video series. He asked a question on our thing actually.
Oh,
that's on your side. Yeah, the guy that now owns all those videos.
So what's the name I'm looking for?
Mitz or MOC something. I can pull it up. Yeah. Shit. So yeah, I used to buy all the videos back in the day in my stores from him.
Oh, is it MOC Video Productions?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. So he asked, favorite or most inspirational bodybuilder from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So one of each. Is that what he means?
Well, I mean, let's do one of each. So who's your 70s? That's before my window, to be honest with you. Like, I couldn't even give that a really solid answer. I just have to guess.
You know, I would consider Tom Platz a 70s bodybuilder.
Right.
He's 70s, 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Arnold was clearly the whole standout of that whole decade.
Right.
I mean,
well, that's what I was going to say. I'm ignoring Franco and Arnold, what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like if you're looking at who's the most inspirational or motivational bodybuilder from the 70s, it's clearly Arnold without a question. And if you had to pick anyone else that was inspirational or motivational, I think it would have to be Tom Platz.
Right.
And if you were going to pick anyone else that was even competitive in that realm of being inspirational, motivational, impactful, it would be Mike Mentzer.
Yeah, I was going to ask if he was a late 70s guy, right?
I mean, those are the three guys that I don't want to say matter the most from the 70s, but as far as influencing bodybuilding or having a lasting impact, that caused, major ripples or tidal waves later on in bodybuilding, it would be those three guys.
You could argue that Mentzer is a reason that I train the way I train.
Exactly what I was going to say. Mike Mentzer's the root of Dorian's training philosophy, which, who knows what that ripple effect caused.
And think of that muscle, dude. Like, his muscle looked just like you could shoot him and you're not getting through that muscle.
Yeah, it's funny. There's some great old pictures. I was on an Instagram site the other day looking through old Mike Mentzer pictures, and they're 70s guys, and I mean, let's be honest, the drugs are a major reason why they weren't bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
Just weren't taking fuck all.
Yeah,
they're running like 200 deca and
right. What they could get.
Yeah, so I mean, but you could see what just brutal training does to a body with very little to almost no drugs, and look at Tom Platz's development in the 70s.
Yeah,
like let's take a body part and add 2 decades to it and destroy everyone on the planet.
Right. Like
he had like 90s legs on a 70s bodybuilder, and everyone was just like, what happened?
Yeah. But because he trained the way he did.
Obviously a genetic component. He's born with legs, but let's be honest, the fucking lifetime of deep squatting.
Plus,
and he's built to squat. And he's built to squat.
Yeah. But also, if you look back at the way he trained, the intensity
that's the bottom
on an extension. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, that's a movement that I'm always careful with. Like, I'm not worried about squatting or hack squatting. I'm like, extension is dangerous. I don't really need more than it can hold.
It's funny to me how Platz's worst injury was a bicep tear.
Right.
Doing dumbbell flies.
Oh, good. No fucking way.
He wasn't even training biceps. He was doing dumbbell flies and he tore his bicep.
Is that true?
Hey, there we go. So it's funny, you did those crazy hack squat, sissy squat things where people pushing down on the sled and did the 600 pounds for reps and
terrible ideas.
Just so funny, like trying to injure himself, pushing down on the leg extension, just reefing down on it.
Oh, dude.
I
saw someone doing that on a preacher curl the other day, and I walked over.
Couple exercises you don't want to reef down on things.
I literally had to walk around like, guys, you guys are awesome. Don't do that.
What about 80s?
80s is that Labrada then, right?
Well, you got Labrada, you got Haney.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mentioned on the show the other day that Lee Haney accidentally said 92, but right. I meant the 91 Olympia, the last one he won, his 8th Olympia.
Yeah.
He took a big step up.
Right.
And if you go back and look at the 91 Olympia footage, you'll see the Haney that won his 8th Olympia was like, whoa, really
dusted
really,
the 7th Olympia winner.
He dusted all the other Haneys that came before him.
Right.
And he really was something else. But as far as 80s bodybuilders, I'd say Labrada was a big influence on me.
What about Gaspari?
Well, I was never like a huge Gaspari fan as far as like seeking out his interviews and stuff. I was actually more of like, I was a fan of Mike Quinn actually.
Right.
He sort of had that blue collar thing going on that I, when I was a kid reading the magazines. But yeah, those were all guys that I sort of seeked out information on. Labrada because he's the first pro I ever met, right? So he really had an impact on me. And then as far as 90s go, the only one that really concerned me the whole decade was Dorian. I was just so obsessed with what he was doing and what how it affected just everything.
Right.
If I had to pick another bodybuilder from the 90s that I was a huge fan of, I'd probably be Nasser, because I probably spoke to Nasser the most out of all the pros from the 90s.
Right.
I got to know Nasser a little bit. So that was interesting. But yeah, those two guys were kind of the 90s guys as far as like who I was like, oh, I got to go make sure I meet that dude, or whatever.
Right. So it's cool that you were in those eras. Cause like for me, I didn't start bodybuilding until the 2000s, but I went backwards. And it's funny that we're answering Bruce's question on this. With all the Mitsuru Okabe videos, and that's how I became fans of these guys like Nasser. I remember like buying Diet Sunkist after watching his thing, because I was like, I'm allowed to drink this. Yeah. I can drink this and do my fucking treadmill or my bike post workout. So but those dudes were, it'd be hard for me in the 90s, because I think I dove into bodybuilding in reverse. So it was like I would finish a video and be like, what else do we have? And I worked in the stores at the time. So we had all of them. Yeah. I used to play those videos nonstop all day and actually watch
the Battle for the Olympia videos.
Oh, well, and then all the individual ones, Maryland Muscle Machine and all those. So I became a huge fan of the Ronnie. Right. Just because I love that he was strong too. And at the time, if you think about it, like we discussed before, not everybody was doing inclines with 455 back in the day.
No.
There was him.
Yeah.
Maybe Ronnie. Him. You know what I mean? Which Ronnie didn't really put him out there, but you knew he could. Yeah. But yeah, now it's so common. I don't know how many people I know that do what I do. I just laugh. So I'm like, oh, I know 10 people that do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like the ahead of their timeness.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was normal. Like that was how they did, or the video when he's doing the heavy shrugs. I just remember being like, man, his shrugs don't look like my shrugs when they get heavy.
Right.
I look like I'm just trying to get it up there somehow. I think I'm bringing my head down to my shoulders.
Right. I'm going into the floor.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very accurate. God, we could ramble on that shit for forever. Oh, let's see here.
You got one?
Yeah, I've got tons of them. Okay, I'm going to ask this because it isn't. Favorite way of utilizing a reverse diet after a show?
Favorite way. I guess just I like to do this with clients because so how do I put this? Okay.
I love that you sound just like the way I would have to answer this.
Yeah. So here's the bottom line. If you can't stick to it, it doesn't work.
Right.
Okay. So you have to cut yourself a certain amount of slack post contest. You just dieted your ass off. One thing that's good to do is to book some photo shoots.
Yep.
That you have to at least stay in shape for an extra couple of days or even an extra week for. Really help you to sort of at least get your water situation sorted out before adding in the variable of fucking McDonald's every day.
Right.
Just, recover from the actual show without adding in a whole bunch of food stress.
Right.
So if you can book some photo shoots that forces you to, not eat like an asshole and sort of control yourself and at least settle down mentally and physically before you're actually done dieting. And then I like to have people to tell them, go back to the diet we were using around 12 weeks out, 14 weeks out, where you have carbs in most of your meals. Mm-hmm. You feel more satiated. Let's add in a little bit more fat to keep you satisfied. Mm-hmm. I throw a whole egg in here, or some more beef here, or something like that. And maybe add some peri-workout carbs to keep them happy. Right. Let's have a muffin before you train.
Yeah, a treat, basically.
Yeah, something to keep kind of just now people feel like they're not dieting. But you also have to have self-discipline. And there's no diet that's going to be so easy that you just follow it without any issues.
Right.
Your post-contest, you're going to have I just want to go out and eat, or you're going to have cravings or whatever. You still have to be in charge of your body. But yeah, I find that that's kind of the best way to also, any drugs that you were on that are maybe making you hungrier, You know, like if you're happen to be one of those people that's running like enough Cytomel to make you hungry, let's tone that down.
Right. Yeah. Let's get that out of there as soon as we can.
You know what I mean?
I think. What do you think about? I feel like some people, their reverse diet is too long. They're too concerned, and I understand the metabolic yada yada yada, but you got a show coming up in 9 months. We can't spend 5 getting out of this one.
Yes.
You know.
Also, I think that people slacking in the gym is a big factor. No one wants to admit it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
You know?
I put a post about that. Chances are your biggest issue is you don't work hard enough.
Yeah.
You know, especially, you ever notice it's right after a show, everyone's gassed through the roof and ready to roll. I'm like, well, we'll talk in a month.
Yeah.
If in a month you're still blasting, focused, and locked in, then we're going to make those changes you're talking about. Right now, you're excited. Excitement does shit for me. I don't care.
You know what? I've learned a lot about, I guess it's actually, I've confirmed a lot. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
I've confirmed a lot in this little experiment that I've embarked on of like trying to kind of live ripped all the time.
Right. Which, by the way, I saw your side chest you put up a week ago, give or take. Your fucking legs look like they're grown.
No, I feel like a swimmer, dude. But you know how it is when you're lean and your waist is small, you actually look okay in some of your shots, you know?
Your legs are fucking big, and I looked at those, I was like, are his legs bigger than mine? Like,
I've always had the side hamstring. That's always helped me out. A side leg shot's always been strong for me. So, but yeah, anyways, just this whole living lean thing. A lot of people are asking me like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I honestly think that my training intensity is like a huge factor.
Right.
And I've got the volume dialed in and the intensity dialed in at just like enough that it's like really working, you know, like I actually had a couple workouts where like the other day I felt like I caught like maybe a rep stronger, like, oh shit, that like felt really good that weight, you know?
Right.
And you know, I mean, yeah, I diet 9 out of 10 meals. I'm dieting and, you know, I pretty much eat on Saturdays only. Sometimes I'll have a meal here and there, but you know, I just feel like I got it tuned. Like it's all like tuned. I can almost just visually eat.
What are you putting on your food, flavor wise, so that you can eat that way and you don't get bored? Because that's a question people ask me all the time.
I use my food's always the same. Like my breakfast, I put sugar-free ketchup on my egg whites and I put some steak spice. High steak spice is my favorite. Seasoning salt, I'll put that in the egg whites. I put mutant isosurge in my oatmeal with some berries.
What flavor?
I've been using strawberry or vanilla with blueberries.
Nice.
And, you know, I use all natural peanut butter on my toast. And I put high steak spice on all my meat, my turkey, my beef, my fish, everything. It's my favorite, and I use hot sauce on all my meat that I cook, and that's it.
Yeah, so basic, because I think that is a key to the question of the reverse is finding a way to make your food palatable in the off season. Because I've done this before, where the first year I worked with Chris, he hit me with the I don't know. I asked him, I said, okay, Chris, I'm getting ready to make all my food for the weekend. What should I have ready? And he goes, I don't know. And for someone like me, that was a real problem.
First show with Chris.
So I made enough meals to cover every single meal of every single protein. Right. Chicken, steak, fish, 6 times a day, times 3. Okay, 36 chicken meals, 36 fish meals. And I brought them with me. So then after the show, I was like, well, don't throw that fish away. I'm going to eat it, because we ate none of it.
Yeah.
And this is 4 or 5 days post show. I've had some good food, took it to work, took one bite. I was like, oh, who the fuck eats this? Because I was no longer dieting, and apparently I didn't realize how hungry I must have been.
Yeah.
That was a learning thing for me, where I realized that the way to stay on your plan is to make your food taste really, really good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be really bad for you, like you said. So the spice thing was key. And I think people should find that thing where they're not lathering it with bullshit calories, but they make it taste good.
I think just liking your food first of all is like a huge thing, you know. I see people who they just don't know how to fucking cook. They're terrible cooks.
Yeah.
Like I see, like I heard some guy just the other day. He's like, yeah, you know, I put all my chicken in a pot and I just boil it. And I'm like, you boil your chicken?
Yeah. Why?
Force yourself to eat that. Like, but to him, it was like he's like solving a problem. It's like easy to do. You only have one dish.
Hey, I'm envious if you can knock it down like that, but I can't.
No
I mean, you know, from years of my old videos, like I'm the anti-hardcore.
Yeah,
I'm like, fuck you. I want my food to taste good. Oh, if that makes me a bitch, that's fine. I still get peeled. I don't care.
You're like Eduardo. Eduardo Korea, the little chef.
Yeah, I refuse to. I just know that's how I can stay on plan. And then to jump into the question real quick for the reverse, for me, it's person to person. I don't reverse much at all because I don't get fat.
Right.
So I just start fucking eating. I like to ride the wave of my metabolism and get to the point where I'm used to eating amount of food that I won't be able to maintain.
I guess if you want the real personal answer of how I did it, I would stay on my diet meals with reasonable carbs, and I would just use my restaurant get-togethers and post-show meetups, because eating at restaurants is my favorite hobby. So it's like I got a whole bunch of dinners I got to go to. I just let those push my weight up slowly.
Yeah, that's funny though, because that's a good answer, because I think that is the key: is eat your food. And I eat one meal every single day in the off season. That's junk.
Yeah.
Right now, and when I say junk, I mean it's an unmeasured steak with loaded potatoes or something. You know what I mean? It's not pizza, but yeah, I think there is something to be said for getting your fucking weight up. Also, is the point of that. Do you have a question loaded?
No, I got to take a pee break. You're gonna love it.
Holy shit! Hey, are you gonna change your outfit too?
I had 2 coffees, man.
Right. We're gonna pause, but it'll be like we didn't.
Dusty can keep talking.
I can fucking talk about anything. I ain't scared. Maybe I'll go over some of these questions while we wait with Scott.
I'm here.
This is our first piss break, everybody. We're 44 episodes. Thanks for closing the door. I'm glad he doesn't have one of those mics that goes with him and we got to listen to him piss. That's uncomfortable.
He would totally do that too.
Oh, for sure. All of a sudden we just hear you.
A bold and battle-ready focus formula that takes no prisoners and shows no mercy.
Okay. It's your turn. It's your turn.
My
He's
turn?
back from his piss. He's fresh. Go.
So, I don't mind this one.
I don't mind this one.
So, anyways, there's 2 here that I wouldn't mind talking about. One, I like this one. Is walking the dog for an hour as good a cardio on prep as walking on the treadmill? I'm just looking for options because the gym needs appointments. So I understand the struggle. So it depends on what he means by walking the dog. If you're like walking 2 miles an hour and stopping to pee on everything, then no, that's not effective cardio. But if you've got like some kind of dog that needs like a fucking walk and you're trucking it, then yeah, it could count. And so the reason I say that is I actually did a lot of my cardio outside when I competed.
Mm-hmm.
I did a really good portion of it just walking on the paths around my house in Edmonton or around wherever I happened to live at the time. I lived right by a lake one time, so I'd walk around the lake. It took like exactly 35 minutes to do a lap. You know what I mean? Like that sort of shit. I did a lot of my cardio just walking outside because back in the 90s, that counted as cardio. It didn't have to be on a stepper. It was, it's easy cardio. It's not that hard, but it was all about the time and duration. It was kind of old school, but I did a lot of that cardio. So walking outside on flat ground was one of the tools I used for a long time. And if you got a dog that needs a walk, like a real walk where you're not stopping and fucking around, then it could count as your cardio.
For sure. No, I agree. I know Flex does most of his cardio outside too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you bet.
it wouldn't count, by the way, with these two. We stop, we sniff, she goes the other fucking way. I don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's not going to count for my. If you have Yorkies, the answer is no.
You know, it just depends on your programming and your diet. You know, I would just diet hard and do that type of cardio. Other people want to like ride the stepper for 45 minutes and eat an extra 500 calories. That's how I always kind of saw it.
Right.
But that was just the way I did things, and I got real good shape a lot of times doing walking for cardio.
I think the only thing that you got to watch with that, and this is why I don't prescribe that to many of my clients, is the speed is not controlled by anything but you.
Yes.
So you need to be cognizant that you're fucking moving, you know, because I know that I've had clients that like lifestyle clients. They're like, you know, I had one call me and we're talking and I'm like, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm doing my walking. I'm like, we're in trouble. She goes, what do you mean? I go, you can talk to me. Like it's nothing.
You should be huffing. Like,
yeah, this is not good enough. And it was good. I was stoked that she called because that was my realization. I was like, oh shit, you're strolling. You're not walking.
Yeah, you're strolling. You're window shopping.
Are you with Paul Dillett?
Yeah.
We're just walking together.
Covered this. Yeah.
I had to bring that full circle. What's your other question you have there? Because you already had one loaded, dude. I want to take it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. One about sugar alcohol. This one.
Oh, yes. I already know that.
John.
Yes.
Anyways.
So the question, because he's finding it, is do sugar alcohols bother everyone? Because he had some sugar-free syrup last night. I'm not going to name the brand.
Yeah.
And he was shitting his pants all night, and to the point that his wife went to the other room.
I'll keep it simple. I avoid everything with sugar alcohols except I chew a little bit of sugar-free gum. Mm-hmm. Like I chew a little bit of cinnamon gum because I like the dentine fire. And that's it. And I don't put any of that. I don't put any syrups on my food. I don't use any of those candies. That stuff just. That's just terrible for your guts, some of that stuff. Well, mine anyways.
I think that's the answer I was going to say right there is if it bloats you in any way, shape, or form, then ditch it.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, things that clearly bloat you, you should stop eating.
If you have any issue with your stomach, it's not worth it immediately. Yeah. So pull them out. Because I actually am the opposite end of the spectrum. I can pretty much have all of those things, but every now and then I'll try something new. Like you happen to name a candy. I cannot touch any of those fake candies. Any of that shit just fucks me up. But I use I don't use what the fuck were they called? The Walden Farms anymore.
Right.
I used to, and I had some of my best shows of my career dousing my shit in those. But I've now used the low sugar, like sugar-free syrups and things, and I just account for the calories.
Right.
You know, it's not macro counting, but it's knowing that, okay, I've been doing this from the beginning. So the fact that I'm putting the syrup on my egg whites, I do it every single day. It doesn't affect my diet because my diet can still change up and down based on what Chris needs to do. Right. Where it becomes an issue when you're adding in the ones that have some calories is if you randomly bring them in during your prep and I, as your coach, don't know about it.
Yeah.
Because you just increase your calories.
Yeah. And I would say anything that gives you gas, and I mean anything. Like I've had many people, I go, what kind of veggies do you eat? And they're like, well, you know, I try to eat my broccoli, but you know, some days I get really bloated and gassy from it, but yeah, I really try to eat it. And I'm like, stop eating it. And they're like, what do you mean? Isn't it really good for you? And I'm like, clearly not good for you. It's bloating and making you gassy, which is one of the main problems with it. It's not it's not an essential vegetable. Like Jesus, you can eat other vegetables. Like I eat green beans and a little bit of red pepper, and I have zero gas from those vegetables. I'm the same. So you got to find stuff that doesn't upset you, you know?
Asparagus and green beans are the only vegetables you'll ever find. And then I eat cucumber as filler.
Right. Okay. There you go.
So yeah, I agree. Anything that bloats you, gasses you, affects your stomach, or anything that hurts your body in the gym, don't do.
There you go.
Just saved your life.
There.
Let's see.
90 minutes.
Done. All right. Here's one that I'm curious of with you. What's your funniest off-season 300+ pound life story?
Oh, geez. Well, I've broken a couple chairs in restaurants.
Been there.
You know what I mean? Broken a couple of chairs in restaurants.
You need to bust out the Rich story about that real quick. I think that could just be our whole thing.
Which one?
With the chair in the restaurant.
The one where we both broke chairs?
The winner. I'm the winner.
Oh, I'm the winner. Yes. Yeah. Rich sat down on a chair. We were out for tacos. I think it was Mexican food. And Rich sat down in a chair and it fucking broke. And didn't he stand up and go, "I am the winner"? And he held his broken chair up. Yeah. Everyone laughed. But it was funny because it's, Rich in a tank top back when he was just exploding. So like most people didn't know who he was, right? Right. And we're in like a restaurant with all these normal people, and Rich is like walking around in a tank top. Everyone's just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. And I imagine the fear in the waiter and owner's face as this man takes a dive on the floor, and the relief they must have felt when he jumped up happily.
Yes. He loved it. He loved that he broke the chair.
Declared himself a champion.
I think he told Ryan, like, "You should have had a camera on me. How come there wasn't a Ryan? Should have got that on camera."
I had that. When I was getting massaged, the first time I was 310-ish. And I've been going to the same massage lady for forever. And she always puts the table as low as it'll go for me. I mean, just based on the obvious fact that the longer the poles are, the weaker they are.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, and I didn't even notice, she did not one day. And during my massage, it went. The table broke. I go crashing to the ground. And I look up over the side of the table, and I see the white face fear in her eyes. And I just start laughing my ass off because I thought it was hysterical. She never thought it was funny because she was so worried that she could have hurt me. And then I found it even better that the next person who was now no longer getting their massage was one of my clients.
Oh, damn.
Because I broke the table. So she ended up making a home table. Her neighbor actually constructed one out of steel. So because she used to get on the table.
Well,
you know what I mean? With you and use. Yeah. She's not strong enough to push down on my leg. So she'd be on the table, body weighting it, leaning into me, doing like my stretching and stuff. So when it went down, that was a pretty awesome moment. I'm glad I didn't get hurt, but because I didn't, my naked ass falling all over the place was very humorous to only me, apparently.
Yes. I did have a funny moment where we went to the P&E, which is like the fairground here in Vancouver.
Okay.
They got like the Ferris wheels and all the rides, and you can buy popcorn, and sometimes there's live events outside and concerts and shit, right? Mm-hmm. And we went to the P&E one night, and everyone wanted to go on one of these rides. It was one of those fucking like, wow, like, big monster rides where they spins you around. It's like, carnival shit. And I'm like, okay, I'll get on it. So we get in line and we wait, and, they loading up all the cars. And I go out, and it's funny because there was this really fat guy, and nothing, he was a really fat guy. Like, he was way bigger than me.
Right.
He was probably maybe 400 pounds. Like, he was a lot bigger than me. Right. And he got in, and they clipped the thing down, and it clicked down on him, and he got in.
His shoulders were narrow enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched him, and he got into it, and they clicked the thing down far enough, and they
so you were confident that you were going to be fine.
I was like, because he was bigger than me. He was even a little taller than me. Right. He was a huge guy.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that guy got in, I'll get in, because they did say, like, we have to be able to close it. There's a sign there. And I was like, okay, I'll fit. And then I got in there, and they couldn't get the thing to click down on me because there's no give.
And your shoulders from the back to front.
Yeah.
That fucking.
Yeah, they couldn't get it down. So I had to do the walk of shame off the platform. They had to do it one more person. So all my friends went on it, except I just stood off to the side and watch them.
I fucking love it though.
See,
but that as a bodybuilder is also I am the winner.
Yeah, it was fun. It was funny. And then I did break an airplane seat one time.
Oh, that sucks. Now you fucked up the whole flight.
No, it was actually awesome because I couldn't put it up.
Oh, and they let you take off still?
Yeah, no. So we were already in the air. But,
thank God.
But they asked me to put my seat up, and I put it up, and it broke, and I put it, and it fell back. When you go to land, you have to put your seat up. So I had like an extra 20 minutes of recline. I was like, fucking awesome. Because I always hate that period of time when you have to sit up.
Yeah, you're like leaned forward almost. It's so
and I'm always like half asleep and I'm like, my head's bobbing and stuff. So it broke and she's like, sir, you're going to have to sit forward. And I was like, it's broken. And she's like, no, it's not. And then she like did it. And she's like, oh, it's broken. She's like, so she just told the guy behind me, she's like, sorry, it's broken.
Yeah, and now he's sitting forward, licking the back of your
His face is like this far from my TV.
Prepping for COVID right there.
I'm sleeping away for the last 20 minutes, sleeping through the landing. It was beautiful. Those little moments of victory.
Gold. That is gold right there. Rebound, trying to. Oh.
You got one?
Yeah, I was trying to figure this out because it's similar to what we already discussed, but opposite. How do you approach a post-show rebound in an attempt to maximize mass?
I think what we talked about with food would be all I would do. I just add in some food and use the motivation to train as hard and smart as you can. That's all you have to do. You can drop out all your drugs except a bit of test and still put size on.
Right.
Post show. Is that what you mean? Like what else?
Yeah, no, like, yeah, just because because the intention of this one is to maximize. I wanted to see if there's anything, because I kind of agree. I mean, really I don't push the calories as much as people think. It's just that your body is now ready to use them. Yeah. So as they go up and you become in an excess, you're going to grow. You know.
Also, I would pull back on if you're one of those people that sort of winds up upping your training volume going into the show, which a lot of people do without realizing it. I would pull back on that and sort of focus on recovery, and the growth will follow.
Right. True.
Like you train real hard, but make sure you're taking your days off and everything, and not trying to like be a hero because you were just a hero for like 12 weeks straight.
Right.
That's another thing too.
Perfect. Here's one. I'm going to ask one more for you. Tips for hamstring mass.
Oh, I think people overcomplicate this a lot. Your hamstring is a 2-joint muscle primarily. So there's a hip joint and a knee joint, and you have to train both of those movements.
Yep.
So the way I looked at it, I always thought, well, let's keep it simple. Hamstrings kind of remind me of triceps in that sense.
Right.
There's technically a 2-jointed muscle, right? So for hamstrings, I always thought you wanted to do a leg curl with your hip extended. Mm-hmm. So that would be like a lying leg curl.
Yep.
Or a standing leg curl with one leg where your hip is pretty extended and you're kind of straight.
Yep.
But then you want to do a curl out of a stretch position. So that would be a seated leg curl.
Right.
So you're standing and laying leg curls, and then your seated leg curls. Mm-hmm. They're two different movements to me because one's out of a stretch and one's more of a contraction. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing you want to do is stretch load the hamstring at the hip.
Yep.
So now you're looking at a stiff leg deadlift, a hammer machine deadlift, dumbbell stiff leg deadlift, hyper extensions with weights, various sort of hip hinge. Right. Good mornings on the power squat machine. Mm-hmm. All that we did that one time with the bands and like fucking going heavy and stuff. So yeah, that's basically it. That's how hamstrings get trained to me. You need a hip hinge movement that stretches the hamstring out. You need a curl where you're extended at the hip and a curl where you're flexed at the hip, and that's it.
Yep.
That's how I think.
I agree. I think that covers everything. And then the other big thing is and it sounds dumb, and it's not to the person necessarily that wrote the question, but train them. Yeah, hamstrings are always an afterthought for people, and then they wonder why they're quad dominant. I mean, if you're training your legs all in one day, don't give the hamstrings what's left.
Right.
Like I do 2 leg days a week, which we've discussed before. So yesterday was my quad dominant day, but there's still one hamstring movement brought in, and I destroy them before I start quads.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the key, because anytime we bump into a muscle that's hard to grow,
Yeah.
It fascinates me how many people don't put the full effort into it also, though. It's like, my calves won't grow. What do you do for calves? And they tell you, and you're like, so you're not training calves.
They're like, go ahead, do four sets after arms.
Yeah,
I'm like,
of 12.
well, that's a problem. You should have a calf. If you really want your calves to grow, you should put them first on 2 days a week.
Yeah, and destroy them and have a plan that you can adjust. And so same with hamstrings. Like, treat them as a priority if they're behind. Yeah. And if they're even, then treat them as an equal the entire time. Don't be so concerned. I think a lot of people avoid doing their hands before like squats or hacks because they know their strength's going to dip because of it. I like to think the opposite, which is now I know which muscle's moving what on there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And eventually you're going to be strong anyways. I mean, and that also helps you celebrate the victories. Like I put up yesterday, I had done a compound movement and a hamstring movement before beating the humbler. That is normal for me, but I always specify, like I didn't go in there and do that shit fresh. Everything was pretty well beat down, and then you get after it. Plus, I feel safe that way.
Yeah, your set on the humbler the other day was fucking heavy.
Yeah, well, it's the first time I've added weight to the machine. But Will told me we shouldn't do that anymore. Apparently, the machine was shifting once we did that, which is crazy. I mean, it was literally 35 pounds. Yeah. But he was like, hey, I've let you add a lot of weight to machines. I don't know if this one's a good idea.
What if you throw a light band on it?
We could probably do that. I'm also, thankfully, I got a new one coming. So I'm wondering if the reason it was shifting, because what it was is the back end of it was moving.
Right.
So I'm wondering if it just needs to be serviced because I'm pretty much the only one that uses that damn thing.
So that's a Paramount one, right?
Yes.
So the Paramount has 2 horns on the back, and you can put 3 plates on each horn?
Yep.
So it holds 6 plates total. Are they the thin iron plates or the big fat coated ones?
Every gym I've ever been to with that, I can only hit 3.
You can get 3 on each side.
No matter what. Yeah, I've never been to a gym that has the little tiny ones. I think if it could hold 4, like if I had 4 smaller plates, I think the machine would be okay. But because first plan was to drop a quarter and lean them into it. The quarter was literally the perfect size to slide right through. And the 35 was too big and was on the back of my head. So we just took a 35-pound bar, and I took my Iron Rebel wrist wraps and basically tied it on.
Yeah.
I was like, this will work, right? And he's like, well, I'm standing here if not. So
yeah.
Because my plan was like, all right, well, then next week I'll want to put a couple 10s on there and on up. So we'll see when my new one comes because, what is it? Who's the Canadian company that makes one? Paramount?
Atlantis.
I have an Atlantis coming.
Okay.
So
we'll see.
Muscle Factory got me that one, and I'm excited to see what that is. So it's brand new, so I'm thinking it should be tighter too.
The only thing about throwing a band on a pendulum squat that is not a good idea is the pendulum squat's already on a pretty harsh strength curve.
Yeah, and you can't match that curve. The band goes straight across.
It would just make the top even heavier and would have no effect on the bottom. So it would just magnify how hard the top third of the rep is.
Yeah, that part that's already a motherfucker you can barely squeeze out. We've added 100 pounds to it.
Yeah. By the time you get the band would be stretched at that point, so it would just hit hard.
Yep.
So yeah, that's.
I feel like that's the thing about, and speaking of bands, now that we're gonna go ahead and stop answering questions, apparently, I'm kidding. I started doing the reverse band because of Luke's explanation on the reverse band hack squats. Dude, no knee discomfort at all.
So you mean you're putting the band, you're deloading?
It's helping me. Yeah. So basically, in his explanation was, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, fuck it, I'll try it. The point at the bottom of a hack where the weight essentially moves from your muscle into your joint, like all of it, because you want that depth, you want the muscle to stretch. You kind of lose the effect on the quad anyways, because it literally does feel like, I mean, even me who has no joint issues, I feel it move into my knee. He was like, you put a reverse band on there, the lightest one you can get, it takes that weight at that point. You still get the range, but now instead of your joint getting it, the band gets it. Dude, now I've put every single person who has nixed me on hack squats because of knee issues can do them.
Yeah, we've been using a band on it, just one band, for a while, and I like it. It's funny though, the one thing that I had to get used to was when you put one band on the hack like that.
We use the same hack too, so I know
yeah. As you start to hit failure, or as you start to get into the grind reps, it feels like someone's spotting you.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
like when we first started doing it, I would ask Braden after the set of it, how many reps did you spot me on? He'd be like, oh, the last one. And
You're
I'd be
like,
fuck,
why
I
did
felt
I
like
feel you taking it?
I felt like you were. It's just the way the band feels. It just changes how the movement sort of feels when they get tough. And you know when you hit those slow reps, but they're still moving.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, someone must be spotting me because it's still moving, but it's slow.
Yeah.
But no, you're just cranking them out on your own. It's just getting heavy.
I yelled at Will a few times when we were first starting because we're newer partners anyways. And I'm like, dude, I want to work. And he's like, I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I mean, literally, like, don't touch it. He goes, no, I'm being very literal. I did not touch the bar.
Yeah.
I was like,
you're used to the top half of the rep getting easier and actually speeding up. But you hit the heavier top end and you slow down, so you think, oh, I must be failing, and the only reason it's still moving is that someone's spotting me.
Right. Yeah. But no,
it's fucked up.
I know you had showed me those, and it absolutely. I mean, now I'm repping. What are you using now? Stacked.
Jesus.
Well, so like right now we're using 9. It's the same one you have, so it's 9 plates aside on that. But with that, it is significantly easier for me. So I just have to do more reps. But it feels so safe, which is what you and I have been talking about for a year now. I think everyone should do it. Everyone. I have the little tiny band. It's not even an inch wide. It's orange that I use, and it's a game changer.
I don't know who it was, and I don't know if they're correct. So anyone out there who's a kinesiologist or I don't know who else would have this knowledge, can definitely let us know if they think this is bullshit. But they said that for taller guys, especially dudes, now I can't remember if it was longer tibias or longer femurs. I can't remember. I thought they said it was like a physics argument.
Right.
And they said for taller guys, using bands on compound movements like squats and leg presses and stuff makes even more sense than on, a shorter person. So we're just saying like it's all about the strength curve, right? And their argument was that a person with shorter legs or their limbs different ratios or whatever, their strength curve isn't as harsh. So the top half of the rep isn't as easy as it is for like a tall person with certain lengths of bones. The top half of the rep is like super easy.
Right.
And the bottom half is like super hard. So it's like they have a more fucked up strength curve. And they were just saying that bands helping to even that out would be of more benefit.
Right, a reverse band situation.
So the argument was, and even just normal bands, like just making the top half of the rep harder. Anything you can do to make the top half of the rep harder benefits certain geometries of bodies more than others.
Right.
And if you happen to be one of those people, you should be banding all your compound quad movements and using exercises like the Cybex squat press and the pendulum squat because they have that harsh curve on them already.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting, but again, I'm not a mathematician or anything. So if someone wants to do the physics on different bone lengths and tell us if it's bullshit or not.
For me, that just makes sense. I think the biggest thing to factor in with, and this is a bodybuilding in general statement, is how's it feel for you? And then fuck it.
There you go.
Because it was, the first day that we did it, the warm up, I have to start with 2 plates aside.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's taking away a full plate, basically.
Yeah, that's about what our band does.
Yeah. So probably, so 90 pounds, I feel like it takes away from the bottom, but so worth the trade. And I think a lot of guys who run into the knee issues later in their careers, you young guys could eliminate those. Right. By doing the bands properly, which of course anybody who's been following me for long sounds like I've lost my fucking mind.
So we figured out, we put the band on and then we just dropped the sled.
And then see if it would hold.
And the sled almost hits the stoppers.
With 1 plate aside.
No, empty.
Oh, okay.
So our band takes the sled, which is probably about 100 pounds.
I was going to say, yeah, because everybody tells me that when they see the arsenal, like, that's a fucking heavy sled.
Yeah, so it's probably a 100-pound sled. I don't know, but I'm just going to estimate. So our band And that would be out of the very bottom of the rep.
Yep.
Then every inch upward would be less and less and less and less. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the band goes slack for like the top bit, like the top.
The part that doesn't fucking matter anyways.
You know, you're fully loaded. You're fully loaded. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Is it my turn to ask one?
Yes. It needs to be because I don't have my phone.
I like how you used the picture where people don't realize that I'm talking about posing and it looks like I'm actually trying to pose, and you have like the craziest angle.
Or did you didn't even see on the one I put in the story? I wrote rep 300, give me the angle and wearing sleeves.
Oh yes. Killing Dusty.
Because I'm about, I don't know, a foot and a half in front of you as well.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal. The only guy you're out angling are the two guys behind you that are doing squats.
Isn't the angle game such an incredible addition to our knowledge base from social media?
Well, that's what's funny is we wouldn't have even known about it back in the day, but now it's like, I mean, how many times if somebody comes up to the expo, they're like, I'm gonna try to get the angle on you. You're like, go ahead, you have 16-inch arm.
Yeah.
There's not an angle in the world.
I just say that my whole game now is I give the angle to the people.
You're such a good man.
I give the angle to the people. I'm willing to take the bad angle in any shot now. I don't care. I like this one here. I could relate to this one. Where was he? Without going to, so the guy's saying he's got to live on as little money as possible.
Oh, yes. I saw
Super
that.
budget.
Yep.
He said he's 6'8", 245, and he wants to be around 270. So he wants to put weight on, and he's a big dude.
Right.
So what's the cost-effective way he can eat on as little money as possible? And I mean, I would say,
tuna, egg whites,
lean ground beef, whole eggs.
Yep.
Maybe they're
That's
cheaper
true.
than egg whites.
Well, yeah, no, definitely, because you factor in that. Walmart shopping, by the way.
Yeah, Walmart shopping, big bags of rice, big bags of oatmeal.
I mean, that's the thing. Buy everything in bulk, and then if you can, because I remember he said like $1,000 or something. If you can accumulate a little bit of cash so that you're prepared for when something goes on sale. Because when I was broke, I got my first credit card for bodybuilding, and the only reason I got it was I knew that if chicken went on sale, I wanted to be able to buy the next month's worth today
And freeze it.
and then I would, so I bought one of those machines that sucks the air out. The fuck's that called?
Oh, you vacuum sealed it.
Yeah, so I would even vacuum seal because I was so broke I couldn't have anything go bad.
Right.
So I did that, and then that was literally how I started doing it. I had a credit card. Anytime any meat went on sale that I could ninja my way around, I would. Another thing is stop buying chicken breast. Buy dark meat chicken. It's cheaper.
Yes. Buy just lean ground chicken where they grind the thighs and the breast together and all that stuff. That's cheaper.
Cheaper, and it actually tastes better too because it's got all the fat in there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Same thing with turkey. If it goes on sale, you want to get the fattier turkeys. And then the other one, which is going to blow people's mind, is protein powder. It's cheap as fuck.
Yeah.
If you buy like a whey concentrate protein powder, it's cheap, easy to go. Nut butters, oils are even better when you just put, olive oil right in there.
Nut butters and oils and fruit's cheap.
I used to buy
bananas.
I used to buy everything based on what was the cheapest way to get the calories.
Yeah.
I found the oils back in the day were always, extra virgin olive oil was cheap as hell, and I could put a tablespoon in everything.
Right.
I was like, I didn't even measure some of this, and I was good to go. But then all of a sudden you're, like I said, something like a tuna or something, you've got fat in there as well now. You toss something in for flavor. I used to buy pickles because they were cheap and they made food taste better.
Oh.
So I would chop up pickles inside of like my nasty ass tuna.
I would just mash tuna into rice and throw hot sauce on it. It was good to go.
Hot sauce is a magic game. But
hot
that's
it.
it.
Magic.
Buy everything in bulk is the that you can to like
food can be cheap if you're willing to shop that way. I mean, I bodybuilded on a budget for fucking ages, and it was just about knowing where you're going to get your stuff. Sometimes I had to go to 3 different stores to do my shopping.
Yep.
Right. I'd go to Costco to get this, and then I'd go to Safeway to get this, and then I knew the cans of tuna that I wanted were at like the superstore. Yep. And I'd go buy a whole box of that tuna, because it was that one white tuna that was actually kind of more of a budget price.
Right. If you can too, if you're in the States, I didn't see where he's from. See if you know somebody who owns a business, any kind of business, because with an EIN number, you can get a card and become a member of Restaurant Depot. They don't ask if you're in the food industry.
Right.
As long as you got an EIN number, they can let you in there, and the price you'll save on food in Restaurant Depot is also silly.
I had a phase where I was shopping at a restaurant wholesaler for my stuff because I had an inn, and I was buying these bags of oatmeal that were like 3 feet tall.
Yep.
Like huge fucking bags. I just keep this bag in my closet, like scoop out of it into a big container.
Reaching in.
Yeah, I was like.
I was going to do that too, Ron, but my arms were too short.
And rice. Yeah. That's funny. You want to do a training one?
Yes.
Rest periods. Are your rest periods the same on every exercise? Do you change it up? I would say
this is gonna be awesome because you and I are gonna have totally different answers. Go ahead.
Yeah, I try to train at like a pretty fast clip, but I take a little extra time on my first exercise or whatever my main exercise is going to be where I'm actually trying to be strong. I take a little extra time on that one. So it might be, might be my second exercise on leg day. I might start with extensions and then second thing might be leg press.
Right.
And I'll be like, okay, today I want to leg press, I want to challenge myself with certain weights. Mm-hmm. But then after that is over with, my rest periods, like I might do 3-minute rest periods on a leg press. But then my next exercise, it might be down to a minute for the rest of the workout.
Right.
Or a minute and a half or something like that. Yep. So I train pretty quick. And if it's a single arm thing, like single arm side laterals, I might just go back and forth with very little rest between sets.
Right.
But yeah, it's just kind of all about how much oxygen debt I'm in.
That's a perfect wording of it. So for me, when you're talking about the compounds, the heavy shit you see, I rest as long as it takes.
Yeah.
I want to be completely fresh for my working set. And people ask, well, how long? Like 2 minutes? However long it takes.
Yeah, it might be 5 minutes.
I am completely fresh. If you see me doing a crazy deadlift or something like that, I promise you I was asleep prior to it. Like I used to have I'm huge into systems, and you know this, Ron, because Ron's watched me undo my wrist wraps and everything. Oh yeah,
you have a system, and it takes the same amount of time.
Yeah, so on heavy things like before my heavy set of deads, I will literally go to the bathroom, wash my hands off because I never like when I have too much of the liquid chalk on my hands. I feel like it actually starts to not work. I will wash my hands, come back, and do a fresh coat. And it was funny because Matt used to laugh because he'd be like, "Oh, he's got to." Somebody new would be there, like, "Oh, I'll film." And he's like, "Oh, just wait, he's got to go wash his hands." And you'd see their face like, "Wash his hands."
Want a fresh coat?
Fuck. But yeah, so I mean, for those things, it's that way. Whereas, like you said with lateral raises, I've gotten really obsessive about blood in my delts. Thanks to John Jewett, I would credit for that because he had me doing like 6 sets of certain things. I'll wait 45 seconds in between.
Right.
Like I don't even have time for you and I to train together. Possibly, you might have to do this machine next to me. But it brings the weight way down. And I always tell guys when they come train with me, I'm like, they'll get done with their first set and they'll get ready to increase the weight. I'm like, don't do that. We have 5 sets left. You don't need more weight.
Yeah, that's gonna go
by your third 45-second break, this is gonna kick the shit out of you. So yeah, base it on like Ron said, whether it's a compound or something more like a squeezy bullshit movement like a lateral raise. It's about blood more than pounds,
Yeah.
So I'll be breathing hard all 6 sets. Whereas, like I said, the squat, I took a day. I went home. I had a snack. Came back. Took the dogs for a piss. Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I get that asked a ton with clients, and I always forget to even put it in their email.
Yeah, I know. It's just sort of an intuitive thing, I guess. I never started timing myself until we got the big clock on the wall at West Coast.
Love that, by the way.
And I use it all the time just because I'm curious, right? Like I was like, oh, it's like extra data. I sort of like taking that in.
When you train alone, do you find it's harder? Because that's what I find is I have to look at a clock because I go faster.
Yes.
By myself. I'm like, fuck, why am I going again?
I trained shoulders by myself the other day because our schedules didn't match up. And I used the clock between every single set because I felt like I was like at my first exercise. I think I did like all 4 of my sets, like warm-ups and working sets. I did them all in like one song. I'm listening to an album. Please tell me
you were listening to November Rain or something.
Right. I'm like,
I need a long song.
And I'm like just into the second song and I'm spraying down the machine.
And it clicked.
I think I smashed through that a little quick. Maybe I should, you know?
Here's a good one. It's actually in your section, but I'm stealing it. Weather is up to 48 degrees Celsius here. Crushed my appetite. And I feel nausea when I force feed. What should I do?
God damn, where does he live to have 48 degrees Celsius? Motherfucker.
He's in hell, apparently.
That's a fucking hot. I'm actually looking at his Instagram now. I want to find.
You're trying to figure out where the fuck he lives? Where the fuck do you live?
Yeah.
It looks like Middle East somewhere.
Somewhere. Lahore, Punjabi. Oh, it looks like he's. I'm not sure if is that. Oh, it looks like he's in Pakistan. The border just isn't quite clear here. I don't want to be mistaken. It looks like he's in Pakistan. So fuck, it's hot there, man. Oh wow. 48. Yeah, 48. So 48. Do you know what that is, Dusty?
Hot as
in your language?
But it's probably like here, only he may have humidity.
Yeah, it's like summer Texas. Yeah, like Houston. Yeah. Okay. It's bullshit hot.
Yes.
Okay. Crushed appetite, feel nausea. Oh shit. Fuck.
It's a hard one. I read that and I was kind of like, what would I do with that? I mean, because if force feeding makes you sick, you're fucked for later. Even if you get the first meal down, you're fucked for the next one.
So I know one thing. I mean, this might just be me talking out my ass. Not like I ever do that, Dusty.
Never.
But I know if your electrolytes are messed up at all, your appetite will be destroyed.
Right.
Sometimes one way or the other. So maybe he's got to be more hydrated. I don't know. Maybe there's.
That does make sense. I didn't even think of that. Definitely makes sense.
I mean, I wonder if people that live in those. I mean, I know people adapt, but I wonder if they adapt to being chronically dehydrated or if they adapt and they just stay hydrated.
Yeah, I think what else is tricky though is because I ran into this when I first started. I was bodybuilding and working outside. I couldn't eat. You literally have heat exhaustion.
Yeah.
So eating is no. So I guess my advice would be this. I would make my first meal of the day
ice cream.
Enormous. Yeah, ice cream with protein powder.
Might be a solution. Just have ice cream and whey isolate at every meal.
I would do that. I would make my first meal huge. I'd make my last meal huge. And I would find ways to cool my body down. Like literally, if there's a way to ice pack your neck and bring your temperature down, maybe that'll help. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's a challenge.
You should move to Scottsdale is probably what I would do. And then you're set.
So I spent a week in Qatar,
right,
which is just north of Dubai, just a separate country.
Is that where you went to that nightclub with Santi? Oh wait, never mind.
No. And but that's what he was talking about, yeah. And it was 48 degrees Celsius when I was there, so I know what that's like. That Persian Gulf heat.
I can't even imagine that for you though, because you're just not conditioned for that.
Yeah, I'm not equipped. I'm not. It was a challenge.
Like you dropping me off in Edmonton in the winter.
It was a challenge. I'm glad those gyms are AC'd though.
Yeah, that's the one thing here is people are like, oh, it's so hot. I'm like, yeah, it's still 72 in the gym.
Yeah, so just live your life indoors.
Yeah, I mean that's what you do. Our summer is winter, so end of story. No big deal. Don't go outside. Don't be an asshole. All right, let's see. I stole the question. Oh, here's one I actually want to know your answer to. Do you recommend counting the calories in vegetables when you're cutting?
I never do.
Me neither.
But I always do so I've had people where they're like, yeah, I usually eat like a cup of veggies at every meal.
Right.
And I'll say, okay, well, what veggies do you eat? And they're like, well, I usually use peas.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Now
And
you're
I'm
eating
like,
you're
peas
eating
are like
carbs.
peas are a starchy carb.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're technically a vegetable, but they're more like they have way more carbs in them than like green beans or something. There's certain vegetables you have to watch that
Fibrous carbs. Yeah, it's like if they said
carbs.
corn, you're like, oh, so you're eating a potato. Cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm going to answer this real quick. How long has Matt been my training partner? Jesus. 5. I mean, Matt's been a training partner since just after I turned pro. So, God, 6, 7 years.
What's the update on that right now?
Yeah, that's actually part of the question, so I'm going to answer it. So he is back in the gym, I think literally right this moment, doing all machines, upper body, obviously, and getting back to it. I'm writing his diet today because he actually wants to use this as a time to get to a look that he wants to be about 230, 240 lean and functional.
Right.
So gonna utilize the downtime because he's gonna lose some mass anyways. Right. But what I keep reminding him of is like, your body's gonna want to get big again. So it's gonna be kind of fun as he gets back to full health, feeding him and not bouncing back up to 270 in a hurry. Right. I don't think people realize when you which we're going to discuss anyways, when you train a certain way, hard as hell and heavy, your muscle wants to be there. Like it just does. So the moment, like Dante has talked to me about this, about shrinking, and I know you're the same. If I came up there and we hung out for a weekend and just had fun and trained and ate, you'd be fucking 290 when I left.
Right. I'd put weight on pretty quick if we just started eating and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. If you just enjoyed bodybuilding life like the old days, you would shoot the fuck back up. So he's doing good. He's healthy. And he's got one leg already to 90.
Okay.
He's driving. He's been released to go up his stairs, which is big. His every bedroom and shower is upstairs. So that was kind of key. He wasn't living at home for the longest time. So yeah, things are good, man. It's funny because when you get in your car and your GPS says it'll take 26 minutes to get there and you go 22. I can do this in 22. Right. Like that's what Matt and I were doing with his recovery. The guy's like, I think 6 months. I'm like, I think 3. He goes, I was thinking 3 too. Right. I was like, okay, we'll get there. Yeah. No, that's good, man. The double leg is the worst. Yeah, and he's just, what it is same thing that I remember you talking to, can't remember who you were talking to, but I was there about your tears. Once he got through the mental side, it became faster. Yeah. I mean, he was already pushing and doing more in the hospital than they thought he could do, but the mentality was still holding him back. Once it was like, fuck this, I'm just going to conquer it, shit started changing. Yeah. He also got a new physical therapist. This pisses me off beyond belief, and you understand this. Like, going to one physical therapist for a while, and he had a feel that the guy wasn't as good as everyone thought. He finds this girl that deals with athletes, and she was like, what the fuck was he doing? We're not doing this anymore. We're not doing this. We can do this faster. And, like, the very first day he was with her, he got, like, quicker results than he'd been seeing every session. Right. She was like, no, throw that away. Like, right. So, and I say that sucks because I do that with clients all the time. I'm like, oh, go get a dry needling person. And then they're like, I didn't really see anything. And then, like, I had one of my client, Tommy, who lived in Detroit. He went in and he's like, I mean, it's kind of helping. He moved here. He saw my guy, Jason, once. He was like, holy shit. Right. Someone knows what they're doing. Yeah. Everything was different. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But yeah, he's changing quick. And what I was segueing with that I wanted to bring up to you, you remember last week you were asked about your advice for females, and you said get strong. Yes. So I've got a girl that I've been working with for forever, and she took 2 months off out of the gym, and then truthfully just enjoyed life, was drinking, partying, just doing whatever she could to stay normal. And 1 week back into the gym, she sends me pictures. I was like, what the fuck? Like, the muscle is all there. The strength is still there. Like, it just showed the resilience of muscle that's put on through work.
Oh, because she's been training that like hard and getting
for
stronger.
years.
Yeah, I see what you
mean.
mean.
And then so the moment she came back, I mean, you could still see the muscle was there, but I mean, it took a week for her to be like unrecognizable again. And I'm like, and the fat from all the bullshit was still there, but it just really drove home because I've got other clients and people I know who they send back their first set of pictures. And I'm like, where did you go? Like, it's all gone. Like, all the muscle is gone. And then you start pushing them again and you're like, fuck, that muscle was never real to begin with.
Right.
It was drugs or whatever else. You know what I mean? So it's like starting from scratch. And that's what I was saying about Matt. Like, it's going to come back so quickly for him because it was all old school muscle.
What I like is when, like I don't fancy myself like a strength and conditioning coach.
Right.
Like, that's not my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? But I know how to push people to train harder and try to find where they can dig more out. And that's always a goal when I write someone a program. So I like when I take a client, like I have a relatively new client who's already got her pro card, right? And she hired me to help her. And it's like every week I get videos from her. She's like, new PR.
The one you just posted a picture of recently with the crazy legs, small waist.
Well, there's a couple of those.
God, you have one that you just put up. I wish I could grab it right now. As soon as she posted her pictures, I think they were on your story. I was like, fuck, that girl's the real deal.
Yeah,
I didn't know who she was, but I was like, she's the real deal.
Right. That might be Ash. Ash doesn't have her pro card yet, but we're working on it.
Oh, well, then her next show she will. If that's who I'm talking about. So
that's the goal. But no, it's cool when you take someone who's already at a relatively high level, like this girl already has her pro card, right? So she's already trained hard and put on muscle and won shows. But then when you spend some time, like, sort of, the mentality of how we would train. Right. Like, okay, when you walk up, I always tell people when I walk up to a machine, I think I've got 2 sets that matter here.
Yep.
Even if I do 3 or 4, it's all about those 2 or that 1, right? So when you get people to think that way about a machine, they're not walking up to the machine going, oh, I have 4 sets of 10.
Yeah.
They're walking up to the machine going, I have 2 sets of death.
Yeah.
And then I just got a couple of practice sets before that.
Yep.
And just that little shift has led to like PR,
which is going to lead to muscle shape,
moving more weight to fatigue through full ranges of motion over time, getting stronger, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And it's a big deal. So
you're driving home fear. I mean, truthfully, because that's what I always tell people.
Driving home fear.
Yeah, well, because I was just training with a friend of mine, Isaac, who just moved here from Chicago. He got his first workout with me, and I said, look, we're doing 3 sets today. 3.
Right.
If you waste 1, you wasted an hour driving across town to train with me.
Right.
Do not leave 1 fucking rep on the table. Because if you leave 1 rep,
you don't leave 1 inch of a rep.
Yeah, you wasted it. And it was so funny because I literally watched his brain go, oh. And he wasn't going to fucking waste his time.
No.
Yeah. And I mean, on one of those sets of rows, I had to stop him. I'm like, you're done. Because he was starting to round, but he was not going to be done. I mean, in that shift, I'm like, oh, cool. I just put 10 pounds on him.
Yeah, he'll put 10 pounds
because
on
he's going to go home and train. I don't train him. I don't write his training or anything like that, and I won't train him often. He lives on another planet compared to me. But I guarantee his training will change because I've had that before with clients too, where or people who come to train me, they go, "We have 2 sets left." I go, "So you deciding if you're going to slack on this one or not?" Like, I don't know. Do your set.
Yeah. 1 set at a time.
Yeah, I mean, but it's funny because when you say that to them, like not being a smartass, they realize it's exactly what they were doing. Do I save some now, or do I not?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like the only time I care how many warm-ups do I have left because I need to decide how many weights I'm going to touch before I get to my nasty shit.
So I've got a good question that I actually had saved.
Ooh. This is a throwback question.
Yeah, so I remembered this because I forgot I had this. But
this will be a way back Wednesday because we're actually going to put this up on a Wednesday.
It's from a couple weeks ago, and I just forgot to ask it.
Dick.
And I just have to get through all the dirty pictures here.
Porn, titty,
Come
Jesus. Who are we having on the show anyways? Who are you inviting?
I've sent some messages.
Did you send some to Detroit by chance?
None to Detroit. None to Detroit.
I would like to get her husband on too.
Yeah, the interesting side of the story. Anyways, it was what are your and Dusty's examples of the most tired, the most exhausted you've been during prep that you pushed through? Moments when you were at your like bottom, but you like, how do you get through those moments?
Oh God, I have lots of those. The hardest prep of my life is 2011.
I think some people, before you start, some people think that it's like easy for some people and they don't have these moments, right? Because they're successful. Like, oh, that guy must have it easy, but it's not. Yeah,
no. I mean, I'm more afraid of the preps I don't have them because I've had a few of those.
Right.
But 2011, when I was truly shredded, like I've never been that shredded since, because we actually took it too far. I had multiple times where I would feel two things. Step mill, I would finish and sit on the bottom of the step mill and gather myself to walk to the car. And to the point that people could see the exhaustion or pain or whatever. And before people just started to realize it was what I was doing every night, I would get asked, "Are you okay?"
Right.
By multiple people. And I'm not putting on a show. I'm just sitting there looking at the ground.
How long would you sit for to get yourself together?
Oh, fuck. I mean, sometimes 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, like just to be like, okay, I have enough in me to walk to the car now and drive home.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then another one was same year, Chris had me doing some outside cardio. And that show was in November. And there were times where I would get emotional because I had to go do my cardio outside. And I was so tired, I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Like truly, it sounds like such exaggeration unless you've ever been there. But I mean, where you're like trying not to tear up because you're walking out the door and you're not coming home for 40 minutes.
Right.
And the only person on the planet that understands it is your girlfriend, wife, roommate, whatever, because they see it as you go through. And it's like, but the thing is the reward on those is fucking amazing. Like,
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know, when you get done, and I think that's it, is once you've gotten done a couple times, you always know you're going to get through it. You know, I mean, I think I told you this before. That prep, I actually was so tired, I could tell you which muscle controlled which part of a step.
Yeah.
Like when the hamstring would engage to pull my leg up to do the next thing.
Everything's just brutal. I call it the cement shoes.
It's true.
You got the cement shoes on. I remember when I was going to college in 99 and I was getting ready for the provincials, which I won. I remember I would get done my last class and I would drive straight to the gym and I would take my caffeine and ephedrine as we did back in the 90s.
Of course.
And I would walk into the gym with my headphones on and I would sit down on the bench by the lockers and I'd put on my headphones and I would play an entire album. Like I'd put on like an album that was like, you know, because here's a little throwback. Most albums used to be about 43 minutes long because that's as much as you could fit on a record.
Right.
So most cassettes were 43 minutes long.
Right.
It wasn't until CDs came out that they started throwing 20 tracks on an album and all that, right? So most albums used to be about 40 minutes.
Right.
So I'd throw an album on, pull my hat down like this, and just crash out fucking cold.
Right.
With that music blasting subliminally into my brain, I would just fall fucking asleep, and it's on full blast.
Right.
And I would fall completely unconscious asleep, and I would sleep until the ephedrine and caffeine woke me up.
Right.
Which was usually around like the 30-minute mark, 20-minute, 30-minute mark. I would just in the gym with my headphones blasting.
Right.
And then I would like wake up, and the music would be on. Sometimes the music wasn't on anymore. and I would like get up and fucking storm out into the gym and just go straight to the rack and fucking set number one, boom, boom, warming up. It was like how I timed it.
That's fucking. I love that you had the system though, because I had
this fucking
those
system, like just.
But I didn't have a system.
That's cold with blasting in my ears. Be like a Guns N' Roses album on 9, to the volume on 9, just
you
blasting.
Had to do the very end because it was the end of the day too.
Yeah.
See, that's when I owned the stores. I used to do that where I trained after I closed the store. I closed the store at 8 p.m. Get it all done, whatever. So I'd go to the gym at 9:30. And you know what used to help me when I was exhausted? This probably makes no sense. I would go home, put my feet in the pool, and put on fresh socks. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like for some reason, that's a new start to the day for me. I couldn't get in the shower because I found that used to make me want to go to sleep that late. So I would, which is funny because I always do that now. But I was so busy that I had that combo too, which I will never visit again, hopefully, where I was waking up at 4 a.m. and finishing meal prep and everything at midnight every night.
Yeah.
So it was like the only good news was when you would get home after those workouts, you're out.
Yeah.
You're fucking out. There's nothing left. You know what I mean?
Also remember, if an old friend of mine, he used to say, "You're not a bodybuilder if you've never slept in your car."
which is I'm actually going to agree with him because I've been there. You'll get to the gym and you beat your partner texting and he's like, "I'm 11 minutes late." I'm like, "Perfect. I have 11 minutes to sleep."
Yeah, it always made me wonder what he meant. Did he mean like for 8-hour sleeps, like you're homeless? Or
did you live in your car? Because that just means you're a bum.
Yeah, you're just napping a lot. I'm not quite sure where the line was there, right?
Oh, God. Yeah, it's funny, though, because now looking back, now that I have this life, I've actually said this to people. Like, you look back and I'm like, how did I do that?
Right.
Like, how was I, and at the highest intensity possible.
Yeah.
Still get it done. Whereas now, that I've got the luxury, it's more like Jay, which have you ever trained with Jay Cutler before?
No, I've never trained with him.
All right. So this is a Jayism that a lot of people don't realize is Jay would be like, all right, we're going to train at 11 p.m.
Yep.
And then at 10:30, he'd be like, I'm not feeling it. We're going to go at 1.
Right.
Like he would go when he was ready by the end of his career, like whatever that meant.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that's kind of how I will be this year. Like if I'm not 100%, I'll take another nap.
Right.
I have time.
Yeah.
It's just funny how when you're spoiled, but as far as when you're exhausted, there's no getting around it. And the only thing I can tell you is if you can embrace that shit and go through it, irregardless, you won that show. I took 10th at my favorite prep ever.
Right,
because we went too far. I fucked it up. And anytime somebody asks, what's your favorite prep? I'm like, 2011.
Oh, really? Yeah,
because it just fucking hurt. And then to realize that I never, ever, ever wavered. I never took one step less of cardio. Like, in hindsight, it's crazy that I never cheated. Because I was that fucking tired. Like, you know what I mean?
It was also, that prep was also the one where I really got like leveled by my coach. His name was Brian Logue, and he was like really demanded condition, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember I was seeing striations in my glutes. Right. I sent him pictures, and I was like, "Okay, my glutes are getting striated." And he's like, "Okay, good. You only got 12 more pounds." I was like, "But my glutes are getting striated." And he's like, "Yeah, but we want to make sure." Like it was just conditioned all the way, so I was just suffering like.
But you know this is true because you've been there. There's striated glutes where you can see them.
Yeah,
there's striated glutes where you can feel them.
Yeah.
When there's actually a texture of bumps in your glutes and it starts to actually look like a fucking walnut.
One thing I say to people that I've said it on the show before, so I don't know if I know we repeat ourselves a lot, but the thing my old buddy Nick Jones from Australia, I always give him credit for this. Whenever someone tells me they think they're ready, I dig this one out. I go, well, my old buddy Nick, who won the universe and multiple Australian titles, he used to tell me you're not ready until your glutes feel like the back of your hand.
Which is true.
And they always go, and then they pinch, and then they go, oh.
I love that there's certain things you can do that makes dude, as you said that, my hand's
shuts
down
everybody
here,
up.
And I'm pulling on the top of my fucking hand.
No one's ready. If you do this, like it's an impossible standard. It's like something you're never there. So it's like no matter who you are, back on the treadmill.
Yeah, you're not there yet. I mean, I don't think you get that peeled out of your head and depleted of water. Like it just doesn't happen.
It's like an impossible standard, but it keeps you chasing, right? Yep. Which is exactly how my buddy Nick one shows. You know, he's like a smaller bodybuilder. He always had to just do that. You know.
Never enough. I love shit like that though, where it's that crazy. You know,
it's not actually going to happen at any point. Yeah. But it puts you in a headspace.
I love that though, because the thing about bodybuilding is it is a mentality. When I work with JJ Marsh, the very, very end of the prep, he was like, I need you to eat no greens, no carbs tomorrow.
Right.
I was like, okay. So I was eating fish, white fish 5 times and salmon once.
Right.
So I did it. And the next day I come in and he looks at me and I mean, dude, I'm peeled. And he was like,
do it again.
Can you give me one more day? I was like, okay. Come back the next day. One more day? Sure. Final day, he's like, is there any way you can give me one more day? And I'm like, sure.
Okay. Yeah.
So I get it done. And then the day before I left town for the show, I said, hey, Jag, I got to ask, what were you looking for? And he goes, I knew you were doing 4 days the whole time. I just knew I couldn't ask for it.
Yeah.
I was like,
sort of like
what?
The shutdown.
Yeah, like I literally thought that like something had happened that he was like, okay, now we're there. He's like, no, I knew you were doing 4 days with nothing the whole time.
It's like the Corona shutdown.
Right.
Could have just come out and told us, you guys are going to be fucked for 3 months. But instead they just give us 10 days.
Exactly.
It's another 10 days, just another week.
Yeah. The only difference is, thank God, with bodybuilding, at least I knew what the day the show was, so I knew there was a point where it was going to end.
Well, we just did 2 hours, Dusty.
I think we've made up for me needing to leave last week, so that's good.
Okay. Do we have a guest for next week? I can't remember.
I have one that I want to bring in, so I'm gonna verify. I'll let you know today, but we should.
Okay. If not, I got a couple people that we've already kind of got like waiting in the wings.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So we will discuss.
Yes, sir.
And always feel free to let us know what you want to see. You know, we got a lot of interesting people we can bring on. I'll let you know how the porn research goes.
You got a lot of people just waiting. They're just waiting. I mean, I've been doing some research too, but I'm not like talking to anyone. I'm just looking at porn.
Right. You have to sift through a lot of pornography to find the right guest, Dusty. Like,
I'll do the sifting. Then once I get up and ask
I've even had to go off into like my non-genres, like the genres I'm not even into. Just looking for, you don't want to miss that perfect guest, right?
You find stuff.
Oh, gee, that looks interesting. I wonder what makes her think that that's a good idea. Right?
Fucking gold.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Oh, shit. I was going to do a shout out, too. We got a shout out, don't we?
Oh, that's right.
We got a shout out.
Do you have
it? Oh, yeah. Matt Spina.
There it is.
Matt Spina. Got to thank Matt Spina. So when you guys look and you see all the timestamps and stuff that Matt does for us, it really help everybody out who want to navigate the show without actually having to listen to Dusty and I talk. You can just jump right to the timestamps, get your information, and get out without having to deal with us at all. And we appreciate Matt Spina's hard work helping us out. And, these shows don't just make themselves.
I had no idea, because they do from my end. But, yeah, it turns out that they don't. There's a lot of shit that happens when I hang up this phone. I didn't know, no idea.
And, of course, I should have done this at the top of the show. But like, subscribe, share, and comment. You really help us out with all of that. Tell your friends. That's how podcasts go. You know, as soon as Spotify gives us the Rogan money, we're set.
Yeah, that's it. I think we're right there.
Even a tenth of what Rogan got.
I'll fucking take a tenth.
I'd be into it. Maybe that's where we're headed, buddy.
All right. Until next time.
It's just bodybuilding.